What's going on, guys? Jesus Christ, everybody fucking acts as long as I'm ready to go.
Everybody decided to cough at the same time. It was just as the intro finished.
Well, right as I fucking unmuted, everybody went.
Well, that's because we knew you unmuted. No, I'm kidding.
How's it going, everybody?
Apparently, we're all sick.
I'm not sick. I'm actually in good health. I'm
healed.
Actually on
I have
vacation.
allergies.
Well, that's an everyday. I sneeze 55,322 times a day.
No, mine is like it's weird because my doctor can't even tell if it's allergies or if it's a viral infection. I have no fucking idea. Best guess, anybody?
Leprosy.
Did you just say left pussy? What?
Leprosy.
Oh God.
She's got left pussy syndrome.
So what's going on, everybody? We got a little bit of news, and then we'll get into the King of the Ring. Gina's got the Super J Cup, which has already started, and I'll tell you who I think is going to win. I think I remember who I picked. And I picked it a long time ago. But we'll talk a little news and notes. There's some. We'll start off with the top story of the day, and I think it's ironic.
Isn't it ironic?
Moxley is out of All Out because he has MRSA again.
Mm-hmm.
And he's being replaced by Pac. I don't care.
Actually, it's a good thing for me.
I do. Like, this is going to be a great fucking match.
Care. But anyway.
I would have rather seen Pac than Moxley any day. Moxley's, what is his move? Punch? Kick?
Yeah, but
dumbass?
Moxley's he's gotten a little bit more in touch with like the old Moxley at going throughout the G1, so it would have been a good match. But yeah, Pac hands down will be a better match.
We'll see. I'm not a
How
fan.
long does Mercer?
I'm not a fan of Pac or fucking Neville, whatever the fuck you want to call him. So.
How long does it take to recover from that shit?
It almost killed him. It almost killed him last time.
Normally, I was reading up on it today. Normally you're in isolation because like when you have Mercer, like you have to be complete isolation. Like it's people have to put suits on to come into the room with you.
Yeah.
And they said that usually it's anywhere between 1 to 10 days in isolation, but it depends on how bad it is. And I know he had it pretty fucking bad last time. To like what JP said, it almost killed him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he should stop traveling.
This time he's going in and having sac that's causing these issues removed surgically. So
there's a sac?
No, the staph infection.
Bursa sac. He has a bursa sac that's causing it.
Usually when you're in the hospital, that's where you get MRSA. Like it's really easily passed through hospitals.
Well, he got it from his surgery.
Yeah, it's usually caused from a staph infection, correct? Like it's bacteria that causes like infections very similar to a staph infection almost.
Yeah, my mom had it before she passed away.
Yeah, it can kill you. He knows he has it, and this kind of concerns me. Even removing that sac is an infection and can congregate.
Mm-hmm.
So, is he? How do I say this?
Is he like at risk?
Is he at risk to continually keep getting this fucking infection?
Well, and not only that, but I'm sorry, Heather.
Well, she's just responding to what I asked. But go ahead, Gina.
Well, no, I was just gonna say like, I was wondering because I know it is a bacterial infection.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's highly contagious, which is why they have to be like, quarantined off or whatever. So my question is, when did he obviously found out that he had it today, but how long did he have it before he actually realized? Because he's been wrestling. Like he was in the G1. He's done a couple of other events within the past, week or so since the G1 has been over. So since it is as contagious as it is, that's my question: is can it if somebody else has because I know it's contagious through open wounds. So if somebody else has a scratch that he's wrestling, can they get it too?
Right.
Could have.
Could have.
Oh my fuck, Kodabushi. No, why basement? Why would you get that in my head again?
But also, staph infections are pretty prevalent in wrestling.
They are.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it seems weird to get that twice. I hope that he heals up and is free of it forever. I mean, no matter what I think of him as a wrestler, I don't want him to be fucking dying.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The reason I said it's ironic is he leaves WWE and has this big coming out at the
Double
or nothing.
and then now he can't even.
Well, yeah, but you really can't say that either because the first time he had Mercer, he was with WWE.
No. I'm just saying he leaves WWE.
Yeah.
And he has this big coming out party at AEW, and then now he can't wrestle. I'm not saying not saying that. It's just ironic that I yes, they're putting Pac in there, but everybody was looking. Moxley was hot.
Mm-hmm. Especially at the G1.
But now him not being there, I wonder if that will hinder just a little bit.
Yeah, and I know he even said on Twitter too that this came at the worst possible time possible because this was going to be his debut match with AEW, and he signed to a big contract with AEW, so gotta kind of feel bad for the dude.
Now,
yeah,
would you?
I'm not going to say it was his debut match because he had a match in AEW. Yeah, it was unsanctioned, and I threw quotes up there, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot about the unsanctioned match.
Would you have felt better? I mean, I don't know if this is the better booking decision or not, but he leaves WWE and then he goes to New Japan for the G1, and then they either debut him at the pay-per-view coming up, or I would have done instead of done the whole video package thing. Mm-hmm. I would have just kept him, have him signed and everything, but kind of keep it under wraps because that would be a big mark-out moment for a lot of people that were like, "Where's this guy going?" I don't think he would have lost that much steam not being known where he's going, especially if he's being debuted in G1.
Well, I think that the reason why they kind of debuted him in AEW so quickly was because he was in G1, and I think AEW wanted to make it clear that he is a signed wrestler to a specific wrestling branch, and it wasn't New Japan.
It makes sense as well because they're going to try to capitalize on that WWE audience that liked him. So yeah, but I see where that you're coming from. Danrick said, "Serious question: how does one get a staph infection? Does anybody know?"
It's just a bacterial infection. Well, staph infection.
If you have a cut that goes untreated.
Or a
in
surgery.
in a wrestling match, because I had a staph infection from wrestling. You somehow you get a scratch, and somehow that staph infection, I can't even pronounce what it's called.
Yeah, it's a
Staphylococcus is on the
type
mat,
of bacteria,
and it gets into your cut. That's how you contract it. It's one of those. It can lay dormant.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, but Mercer is it's basically like a staph infection that has gone untreated, right?
Yes,
I think so.
For so long, and then it just gets to the point where you actually have to quarantine the person.
Mm-hmm. So yes, that's how you go about getting. Well, you don't want to get a staph infection because it sucks. It ended my freshman year of wrestling, and I was ranked number 3 in the state.
Yeah, and well, I heard too that once you depending on with the Mercer or whatever you call it, depending on where you get it in your body, it can be really, really hard to get rid of it.
If you get it in
certain
your
parts
arms,
of your body are worse than other parts.
It was really hard to get rid of it. I got it in my arms, and it was really hard to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I don't know why. And that's where he has it. Is in his arm. almost guarantee it because it comes from when he had his surgery.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask about that, like, because I kind of figured it was his surgery because I remember when he went out in WWE to have the shoulder surgery, I think.
No, it was his elbow.
Elbow, that's what it was. Sorry. When he went out to have the elbow surgery, I remember like him taking so long to come back, and I'm like, what the fuck is taking so long? But then WWE had actually announced that he had this, and that's why his recovery was being delayed.
Right.
But yeah.
I mean, I wish the best for the guy. I hope he recovers quickly. But I am actually more excited about the match that they now have, which is Pac versus Omega. Even though it's like everything's in a little bubble there with AEW at this point, and I don't expect them. At this one, they could actually like sow the seeds for what's going to happen on the TV show. So this might be, in my opinion, I'm predicting it might be the best event they do because it's good. The actual TV show will follow slowly after.
Well, and I know Cody Rhodes has said online that they've only debuted or they've only released like 40% of their roster that they're going to actually have for TV. He said that there's a lot of names that they still have that have not been announced. So, I think Pac was one of those names because they had that storyline going where like it wasn't really a storyline. It's just Pac wasn't ready to give up his title. Yeah, or he wasn't ready to lose yet. Like he didn't think that a champion should lose when he had the was it Rev Pro title or no, the Dragon Gate title. Yeah, so he didn't want to lose. So they had that storyline going. I think he was one of those ones that they were kind of hiding because nobody knew what was going on with his AEW career, if he was still with the company or if he had backed out of his contract or whatever. And this kind of forced them to push him through and be like, yeah, he's still here.
Right.
Well, they definitely don't have enough of a roster to go live. That's for sure. Oh, God. Calling in from the sick ward.
Poor Bobbit. Bobbit is sick, everybody. Poor guy.
What were you going to say, Bobbit? Go ahead.
I was going to say, just push it real good. I was trying to make it funny.
Okay.
You sound miserable, man.
You sound amazing. I was like that a week ago, so don't worry.
Greg, what do you think about what we've been talking about?
You never want to hear anybody getting hurt or anything like that, but this could end up being one of the better matches on the card with Pac versus Kenny Omega. And I'm not a huge Pac fan. I thought he was okay as Neville, but over time I kind of got bored with the guy. But this could be one of the best matches of the night.
I think actually Adam Page and Chris Jericho could be the match of the night, but
fucking Adam Page for champion, yes.
He's not winning. He should not win that match. If he wins that match,
I believe he should.
No,
I don't think so. Chris Jericho
I think so because
going to TV.
No, I think so because I think for a new company they need fresh meat, and that's Hangman Page.
Fresh meat.
I disagree.
But you also need eyes on the company to get the popularity up as fast as possible.
That's true.
Put it on Jericho.
And then have him lose it to like Adam Page, like a month in, 2 months in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Up.
So yeah, but that we'll talk about that next week when we do our predictions for All Out.
Let's get into this, baby. Let's do it. Amped now.
WWE. Now this for everything that we shit on WWE for, and everybody shits on WWE for, they do one good thing, and that's make a wish. Was it on ESPN?
Yes.
It was on ESPN, and we were sitting there watching this story, and Stephanie McMahon did a make a wish for a girl who was being bullied. I can't remember the story.
She had a rare illness that actually left her paralyzed, and so weak that she couldn't actually push her own wheelchair. So pretty much anybody in the school that could would get her chair out into the middle of a muddy field and then just leave her there.
Yeah.
Holy
what
fuck,
is
that terrible?
People?
Yeah,
that might be one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Anyway, they did ESPN did a thing on her, and Stephanie McMahon was her wish, and I just wanted to put this out there. For as much as we shit on the fucking WWE with their booking decisions and the way they're steering their product, they do some really good things. And this girl said that when Roman Reigns was her hero, but she wanted to meet Stephanie McMahon, she actually booked a couple of matches in a show recently. And I don't know which ones they were, but that's what they said, that they said they would book a match. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there and get your guys' thoughts on this, because we shit on WWE a lot for the way that they do their things. This is the one thing that they do right, and I've always done.
I completely agree with you, because I mean, not only like John Cena holds the record for the most wishes granted, like period. Justin Bieber, eat my ass. Like all of them, like any actor, singer, movie star, whatever, John Cena holds the top. But WWE in general is great, not just with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, but they're great with the like anti-bully foundations. And say what you want about Stephanie McMahon and Vince and Triple H, but these three people are probably three of the most kind and caring people when it comes to children who are sick.
Yeah.
Because, they have, look at what they did with Connor's Cure. Before Connor died, they did not have to let that little boy in the back by all the wrestlers and let him run out at certain events and run around in the ring and all this stuff. They did it with another little boy too. I can't remember his name at the top of my head, but we can shit on them all that we want, but bottom line, WWE is one of the greatest contributors as far as when it comes to sick kids or kids that are hurting.
And the thing too is, for years they didn't kind of publicize it too. They kind of kept it under wraps. They didn't want people to know, and I think that's like even more honorable.
Validates it more, yeah.
I think they came to a point where they were realizing we're still going to do this. So, I mean, wouldn't it also help to raise awareness for the things that we're talking about?
Exactly.
And to be it started as like a non-corporate move, most companies would be like, we're going to take advantage of this because it's a win for us. It's a win for the kid. We're going to show everything. And to have it not really publicized for a long time. And then when they did do it, they did it right. Yeah, I will give them all of my respect for what they've done with, like, especially Make-A-Wish.
Yep.
Well, and I know too that like a lot of those superstars, I've seen videos, and you guys probably have too, where there's people that come through the line with their kids just at meet and greets, and the kids start crying and they say how like they're bullied and they get them through or whatever. These athletes take the time, they take extra time with these kids, and they take the time to get to know them, talk to them, give them autographs, take pictures, whatever the kids want. So it's pretty admirable.
Yeah. They're not bad at wrestling, Dan. They're just bad at booking matches. Wrestling is not always bad.
In all honesty, the complaint we have is that, and I think that's the complaint we've had for a long time. It's how things are booked, short term, long term, just in general. And I know it's because their booking system is a mess.
Yep. Right now it is. They're trying to fix it, and you can see they're trying to fix it, but it's going to take some time. But this Make-A-Wish thing, I wish. I'm sure it'll be on again, and it is really it sent a shiver up and down my spine, because again, for as much as we shit on WWE and their booking decisions, this is the one thing that they have done and always have done.
Well, that Connor's Cure thing is like, you'd have to be a soulless motherfucker to watch that whole thing that they put out and not feel something about it. Like, that was like one of the things where you could tell that there was real emotion from WWE as well as the kid.
Well, and not only Connor, but it was either this year or last year, they inducted a little boy into the Hall of Fame for like the what is it, the hero?
Was it the Warrior thing?
The Warrior thing,
that was Connor.
No, that wasn't Connor. Connor's inducted as well, but this was a little African American boy.
That kid?
Yeah, he was funny as hell. Like, the kid had charisma like you would not believe, but I know they did something very, very similar for him that they did with Connor. It just wasn't as extensive, but I think Daniel Bryan had a lot to do with what they did with Connor.
Yes, they did.
I think Daniel Bryan was his Make-A-Wish.
Yeah, he was. And then like he met Daniel Bryan, and then Triple H and Stephanie were there as well, and it just kind of blossomed, and next thing you know, he's at like several Raws and pay-per-views, and it's just really awesome.
Yeah, but that's the reach of a really good organic face run.
Right.
Like the fact that it can impact everybody, and everybody was behind Daniel Bryan at a point, and it's been organic, and they kind of played off it, like, because people realized that the corporation didn't really want to push him, but they still did. But they also came to the point of realization saying,
yeah, we can't not.
Well, and not only that, but I think that you can talk about like they didn't want to push him and all this stuff, but I don't think that the Daniel Bryan's actual true life character was ever put in question, because like that's not something that's part of the show. What he did for Connor, that's who he is, you know. So right. I think it's just personal connection on an actual personal real life level.
Oh, I'm with you. Anybody else got anything they'd like to add to that? Trek, Bobbit, Dory?
After all the crap that they get, and some critics go out of their way to shit on WWE and stuff, that's good to see that they get some good publicity like this, because when I was growing up, everyone's like, oh, you watch that garbage and stuff. It's like, you know what? They do some good stuff, and people are like, yeah, beating each other up is really good stuff, but they don't like to look at the good things because they just like to shit on it. But, I mean, and not only that, but they talk about the whole Susan J. Komen thing and stuff like that, but, I mean, they do more good stuff than they do bad. Do they mess up? Yeah, they mess up, but who doesn't?
Well, this is kind of far removed, like not far removed, but removed from the product itself. And these type of things are always good to see. But a lot of people, I think, lump wrestling in together with reality TV, because it is, in a sense, some of like they've really latched on to reality TV to like be all of like the things they do that are outside of the actual wrestling and the actual Raw and SmackDown. They really capitalize on reality TV, and I know it's because it works the best with the characters they have. But you don't see a lot of other reality TV shows doing what WWE has done.
When I think reality TV, like WWE's success in reality TV is basically thanks to the Bellas. I'd hate to say that, but it is thanks to the Bellas, because like
you're right.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm sorry.
I know what you mean, Gina. That I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dory. Good talk. Bobbit. Good talk. All right.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. So just to touch on that a little bit, like I don't know if any of you guys actually saw the Undercover Boss that they did with WWE and Stephanie McMahon. And I mean, obviously Undercover Boss, especially the celebrity editions, I mean, they're playing it up. But like when they genuinely like had the people from the show towards the end and they were like doing things for them, like you could tell that like Stephanie McMahon was truly moved. And I think a lot of people are really hard on her. But if you actually see who she is, like behind the camera, she's actually pretty honorable, and I think a lot of people kind of need to remember that. Like she plays a character, and WWE as a whole has this like kind of hard outlook, but like they're really not.
Well, see, here's the problem with that, and I agree with you, Dory. Here's the problem with that, Stephanie. You get these fans, these idiot fucking stupid super fans that think that what happens in WWE is real life on TV. Yeah. And they take it to the whole next level. Like Stephanie can go, she's a mean, nasty person. She is not a mean person at all. No. Triple H isn't a mean. Vince.
None of them are.
Vince, of all fucking people, everybody says Vince is an asshole. Vince is a dickhead. Vince takes care of his employees. Every single one of them. If they need... Yes, they don't have health insurance, but if they need to have surgery, he pays for it. He pays
Not only
for it
that,
out
but
of
he
his
sends them
own
to the best
pocket.
Yeah, and not only that, but he sends them to the best doctors available. Like a lot of them go to Atlanta, and Atlanta is some of the best surgeons around.
And they go to Birmingham for the orthopedic surgeon, who's the best surgeon in the world today. So for people to sit there and shit on these people, you're shitting on their characters. Don't shit on the person. Like Roman Reigns, Joseph Anoa'i is one hell of a guy. We know this for a fact. Roman Reigns, he was pushed down our throats. Yeah, he's disliked human being as far as character goes. But as a person, a real life person, it's fantastic.
But with Roman Reigns, he was written into a place where they were forcing him to be something that didn't really come naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Are you not going to be like, well, they want me to be the fucking face of this company? No, please God, no. I don't want all the fame and money that goes along with it. But like, people need to understand that they need to separate the character, like you said, the character and the person. And that's always been wrestling.
Right.
That's wrestling at its core, and people that get that confused end up being the worst fans known to mankind.
Mm-hmm. And I know that, like, not just when workers get injured and stuff, when superstars get injured, yeah, Vince is there, but even when they're on a roll, like, they can be at the pinnacle of their career. I don't know if anybody's seen the 24 special about WrestleMania this year, but when Becky won the title, like, Vince was the first one backstage to be there and to congratulate her and tell her how proud he is of her and all of this stuff. And I've seen that in several WWE 24 specials where he's like the first one backstage to be congratulating these superstars and kind of relishing in their joy.
Well, name me any other company where the actual owner of the company has anything to do with anybody else, unless it's like a group that's right below them. It doesn't exist. It's like a very weird situation where you don't really see that anywhere else.
Or you have a situation like I was in with Harley Davidson. It was a privately owned dealership, so the owner had to be there to run business every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Vince loves what he does. He loves his company. He loves wrestling. Otherwise, if he didn't love wrestling, he wouldn't have done it for fucking 50 years.
You can see how much he loves what he does and how much he loves the athletes that are involved just by watching a 24 special for WrestleMania. When you see him come out on that stage, when they're setting it up, and you see the smile on his face when he sees these superstars coming out and like kind of taking that deep breath in awe from the stage, you can see the pride that he has in his work and in his crew.
That's the thing. Like, I've worked for several different companies. I've never met the person that owned the company. I've never met the person that was 5, 6, 7 times removed from ownership. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a completely different environment, and that way you have to kind of treat it that way. So when people like shit on Vince McMahon, he's just like all of us. He's gonna have good ideas, bad ideas, and be opinionated in his own way. But like, there's like, you wouldn't be watching what you're watching if he didn't exist.
Exactly. And not only that, but every single superstar that is on Raw or SmackDown has met privately with Vince before even getting called up or being brought into the company. They meet privately with Vince. So he does have that one-on-one connection with everybody in the company. Maybe not NXT, because that's Triple H's stuff.
He still has the final
I'm pretty sure he probably met with them too.
Well, I'm sure he has, but I'm just saying, like, Triple H is the one that usually does the pep talks and shit like that for NXT.
Right. Yes.
Whereas Vince is the one that he is meeting face to face with these people when he's hiring them. He is the one backstage giving them pep talks. He's giving them, if they do a shitty job. If you've ever watched the Kevin Owens 365 special, Kevin Owens says flat out, Vince is the first person to tell you if you do a shit job.
Yeah.
He's like a father figure to everybody behind that curtain.
Yep.
And not only that, but I mean, we could go as recently as Harley Race. Trevor Murdoch told that story about Harley was in bad shape, and within 5 minutes, Vince got on the phone and cleared everything up, and Harley was, where he needed to be.
Yeah. So for people to say that Vince is a bad person, don't talk to me. Anything? Anybody else want to add anything?
I think we're good.
Fuck the haters.
Fuck the heaters? Is that
haters?
Oh,
Staying on the WWE. Now, this is just news. We're not going to talk about what happened. We'll wait until we get to the King of the Ring. But WWE to add a 6th takeover event if it does well on the USA Network.
Makes sense.
Okay with it because I'm okay with it because a pay-per-view every other month, every 2 months.
So on the USA Network, are they moving takeovers to USA?
No. I asked that question too. No, it's still going to be on the. It's still going to be on the network. They're just saying that if NXT does well enough on USA, they're going to add a 6th takeover.
Gotcha.
Makes sense. They made the show 2 hours. Of course, they have to have a bit more going. I always felt like NXT could have done another pay-per-view anyway, even the way it was.
Yep.
But I don't think they should go beyond that. I think once every 2 months is the magic number, and I feel like Raw should do that, and SmackDown should do it. Once the brand split happens again, Raw should be 6 months. SmackDown should be 6 months. You got a full year of pay-per-views, but they're dedicated to each individual show, unless they're the combined ones.
Right.
Well, not only that, but I think that NXT has a stacked enough roster right now to be able to pull off the 2-hour shows along with the 6 pay-per-views.
They're going to be bringing people back to NXT because they're going to need more of a roster. As it is right now, NXT's got enough roster, in my opinion, to run almost 2 hours every time. And they've been like that for a long time. But it's also a place where you can put more talent in because they're not being featured anywhere else the way they should be.
Right.
And also, too,
I'll be right back.
At the most recent takeover, that's why they were probably doing a takeover with more matches to see if they could actually hold a full takeover with 5 matches, 5-6 matches, in comparison to what before it was 4, 3.
5. No, we've had 5 matches.
For the most part, it's been 5, I think. Yeah.
Well, 4 or 5. It depends on what type of match they were and how long.
If it was like War Games or something at the end, then like a big match involving a lot of people that's going to be long, then it's going to be 4. But I will say, oh fuck, I lost my train of thought. You guys go.
I'll be right back.
Every takeover I've watched since 2 years ago, or since last year actually, because I didn't watch them until last year. I think they've had 5 matches every time.
I will say though, this was my train of thought. Them moving to the USA Network, you're gonna see some names that were cusp stars on the main roster that might move back to NXT because they're going to need the drawing power for the regular TV. You're going to see some guys that were really heavily featured on Raw and SmackDown now in NXT.
Yep.
And sorry, I just looked it up. It was actually 7 that they just had.
They had 7 matches?
Yeah, TakeOver SummerSlam. It was.
Did they have a pre-show though?
No. They only had 5 because those were pre-show matches.
Dark matches.
Those
dark matches that they show on NXT the following
Monday or Wednesday. Yeah. They don't.
Yeah,
they
he's right. There's no way it was 7 if I'm thinking of it.
No, it was only 5. It was the first match was the tag team match. The second match was Io and Candice. The third match was the triple threat. The fourth
and
match
the women's
was the
match.
women's championship, and then the 5th match was Gargano and.
Yeah, the 5th match was an hour long, and this is the format I hope they keep when they move to USA, but you never know.
Right. So, but yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm gonna say this right now. Don't worry about NXT moving to USA. And I don't want to hear, well, which one are you going to watch? I'm going to watch fucking both of them. Does it fucking matter which one I watch? It's none of your fucking business. And what I mean by that is people saying that, well, NXT is... shut the fuck up. AEW is better. How do you know? They haven't even had a show yet.
In this day and age, we don't have to flip channels, so why can't people just watch it whenever they want?
Right.
And that's essentially how I've watched wrestling for the last year. I've hardly ever watched wrestling, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, or anything live. I usually watch it where I can get to a point where I can skip commercials because it saves me a lot of time.
Yep.
And also, I can miss a SmackDown, I can miss a Raw. Hell, I can miss an NXT and still know what's happening.
Right. Exactly. Bobbit, Trek? Anything to add?
I think it's a good idea, and everybody's like, where to go put them, where to go put them. I'm like, they have lots of places to put them. You have them they tried this the night before. They tried this at NXT 25. I don't think there was a pay-per-view that weekend. It worked out pretty well. So, I mean, you don't have to have a pay-per-view on the weekend just to do an NXT.
You don't need a SummerSlam to be a pay-per-view in order for them to do a takeover. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be a WWE pay-per-view to do a takeover. I get that.
Right.
I get that.
Now I do worry unless they're gonna reduce the amount of main. Technically, I look at this move to the USA Network for NXT, making NXT part of main roster,
but doing their own pay-per-views.
Yeah, but I also don't want to see NXT pay-per-view 1 week, Raw 1 week, SmackDown the next week. I don't want to see that kind of frequency in terms of pay-per-views.
Right.
Like they should reduce the main roster if they're going to increase NXT. It's still within the same talent pool, so.
Right. Oh, I agree with you. Oh, it's been a long day. Long day. Sorry.
Do some cocaine.
I should.
What the fuck?
I should. Any final thoughts, Gina, on WWE or NXT adding a sixth takeover?
I'm okay with it. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the NXT thing. Honestly, I hope that they go to 6 takeovers because I kind of miss that setup where there was less pay-per-views per year because it made the pay-per-views that much more special.
See, and that's why those in between pay-per-views, in between the big 4 that they had or big 5 or whatever. It's just kind of okay. So this is essentially a house show.
Well, if you remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they had one pay-per-view per month. Okay, but how can it was different than how it is now because for one, they were able to actually book back then. And they're getting a little bit better now. I'm hoping that they're going to keep on progressively getting better, but my fingers are I'm not holding my breath because it's WWE. I'll see what I get, I'll wait the time out.
Right.
But I know that they do usually one per month now, but for some odd reason it doesn't have that same prestige as the old pay-per-views did. And I don't know if it's because more now they're more like a gimmick type pay-per-view. Before we had Survivor Series, Backlash, No Way Out, those were more pay-per-views that were just a general pay-per-view, whereas now we have TLC or Elimination Chamber. So the whole pay-per-view you would think would be about that, but there's only one fucking match in the entire pay-per-view that's a TLC match.
Right.
That shit pisses me off. I don't understand why they can't just get rid of the gimmick shit. So the
easiest answer to that is they don't know how they did a shitty job of building their pay-per-views. That's why.
Yeah.
The thing is, the gimmick pay-per-views sell to the audience that's relatively new. Yeah. The revolving door audience, because they're like, oh, if you're going to sell it as a TLC, I got to watch this.
Yeah, but you would... But, okay, let's say if they would do Backlash again, for instance, or No Way Out, okay? Let's go with No Way Out. They do No Way Out again. That pay-per-view title, you could have a TLC match, you could have a ladder match, you could have a regular match, you could have a submission match, basically any kind of match, as long as you advertise what matches are in the pay-per-view. Then really the pay-per-view name doesn't matter, but unless it's a gimmick pay-per-view, because then you're looking, if it's TLC, then you're looking for every match in the pay-per-view to be a TLC match.
Yep.
And they're not.
And I mean, I agree with you, but I also think that it's not just, there's a reason they're doing it, and it's because they're looking at numbers. And when they look at numbers aren't always just because it worked this year doesn't mean it's going to work next year. You got to take into so many things into account, but also the frequency of pay-per-views. If you're going to have, 12 pay-per-views a month that
basement.
I was going to say, is that my internet or did he fade out?
He just disappeared.
But I know I got a little veered off with like the name of the paper.
Am I alive?
There you are.
Now you are.
Okay, what in the fuck? No, but like I think it's the 12 pay-per-views a year. Then you've got the 6 NXT. Then you've also got these offshoots with Saudi Arabia and the Evolution one. And then you have the accessibility that everyone has to other wrestling promotions. It's all equating to fatigue.
Right.
It's the same thing that we talked about earlier with Marvel.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly. I know I got veered off track with like talking about old pay-per-views and stuff, but that was basically what I was trying to say as well. Is just it back then. Yeah, they had 12 pay-per-views a year. They have 12 pay-per-views a year now, but you have those specialty ones like fucking Saudi Arabia and Evolution and shit like that that's thrown in, which makes it even more pay-per-views. So you get exhausted.
It kills that section of the year because you have about like a month or two, like I'm gonna say like 2 to 3 months that are actually impacted very heavily with too much exposure.
Right.
And unfortunately, the Evolution. Sorry.
There's not build time, and I think we saw that like literally it was like one pay-per-view's finished, and then it's like, oh look, there's a week, and then it's Saudi Arabia, and then look, oh it's 2 weeks, and there's another pay-per-view. Like the builds are just ridiculous.
Well, I don't even consider Saudi Arabia a fucking pay-per-view.
I agree with you, but it's the way it's promoted. It's promoted like a real paper. It was promoted like second WrestleMania recently. So
well,
you look.
And I was going to say.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. I agree with Dory because I was alluding to that as well because like you don't have enough time in between pay-per-views when you start throwing in all this other bullshit to actually book a decent pay-per-view.
Right.
Well, too, like what they used to do, even though they used to have 12 pay-per-views before, is if they knew they were going to have a stipulation pay-per-view, they would book it 2 months in advance and hold off on it and skip the pay-per-view and make people wait. And that's what I miss for like the actual stipulation pay-per-views because that's how they used to do it. So
you look at Saudi Arabia. What special happened at any of these Saudi Arabia events?
Goldberg got a concussion.
Shane got over.
Shane got over. Shane got over what?
He won a tournament. Whoop-de-doo.
Herpes? Get over herpes?
He won a tournament. He won the best in the world tournament.
So nothing.
Nothing.
Exactly.
So I don't even look at that as like this past SummerSlam was not. They had that whole weekend. No title changes. Nothing. And then at the end, they did this lame fucking title change.
Yep.
There was nothing special about it.
That's the thing is, as you said, like it just because it's on the network doesn't mean it's actually technically like in my eyes a pay-per-view.
Smackville. They promoted the shit out of that, and then what did you get? You got the exact same match that you got fucking Monday. That Monday before.
Here's the thing. If you're going to have so much available for people to watch, you have to watch how you promote it. Mm-hmm. Because they promoted these things heavily to get people to watch it, but then people are also taking into account that it's going to mean something. And then you like the problem with WWE is like, oh, you like it? Here's more. Oh, you have enough? Here's more. Like, it's like fucking
oversaturation.
Way too much.
Yep, and that's so I don't take stock into those, and it did hurt the pay-per-views. I do agree with that. But the pay-per-views today, all of them, even the Big Four, they're just fucking glorified house shows, just with a more spectacular look to them. That's it.
And a theme song.
Yeah,
that's one thing too. Just I want to mention, back in the day, they used to have really, really cool posters for all the pay-per-views, and there was themes, and the music would always match. Like, they just don't put the effort in anymore. When was the last time you saw a pay-per-view poster?
First of all, I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, first of all, if anybody's winning in that category, it's NXT, because NXT is the one that is exposing their brand correctly, and then they have the actual, like, you never hear, like, welcome to my house. You never hear that shit on NXT. Like, it's always, like, that hardcore metal rock and roll music that gets you pumped up to watch wrestling.
it makes sense for the pay-per-view. And that, again, like if you go back and you actually search some of the old pay-per-views from the 2000s, like they even have themes to like the posters. Like it just seems like they cared more investing in like what the actual theme of the pay-per-view was supposed to be, even if there weren't stipulations. Like, I don't know.
Nope.
It's lazy. I think they're just lazy now.
Well, I mean, it's because they do so much.
It is. That's true. And I don't like pyro. I can give a shit if they have pyro. I don't take stock, and it's the, what is it, fanfare you call it?
Yeah.
It's like the bravado of it.
I don't take stock in pyro. I don't give a fuck if they have a fucking bottle rocket shoot off in the middle of the fucking ring. I don't care.
But if it's used, I think it's because it was used so much. If it's used sparingly in the right situations, it means something.
The reason that they went away from it is because it was being overused, and people were more worried about and people today, well, how come there's no pyro? Now you see why they stopped doing the pyro, because they just wanted pyro. They didn't give a fuck about who was wrestling. It was what's the entrance going to look like. I don't care what. Like, I don't care about an entrance. Like, they had, was it SmackDown Tuesday? They didn't even have Charlotte and whoever she wrestled. They didn't have their entrance. And Heather goes, well, that sucks. They didn't give them. Who cares? It's
but
not like
that's the thing is, like, you have to take into account they are they want to present themselves as 50-50 wrestling and 50 entertainment. Certain entrances require, and so for instance, you take away Aleister Black's entrance. Does he have the same effect as an actual character?
Or Balor's too. Like Balor's, I mean, it's not like pyro or anything, but there's quite a bit of time that they dedicate to his entrance.
Smoke machines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I bet it made you smoke.
Everything makes sense, but again, it's the same idea. Use it when it needs to be used, and don't when it doesn't. Quality. Focus on quality. I don't care how much I see of everything. Just make me remember what I see.
Well, and do you know what? Like I miss, and I know that there's a reason why they don't do this stuff anymore, but I can give a shit less about pyro. What I miss is when you have like a big event like WrestleMania. Do you guys remember when they used to do like the character entrances where like, okay, like John Cena that one time came out with the like mob boss and shit. I miss when they did that stuff because you never really knew. Yeah, but not really as much as they did for a while there. But I remember that shit, and because it was always like, oh, what are they gonna do for their entrance? Like, this is pretty fucking cool, you know.
I feel like if you're gonna have a Goldberg Undertaker match, you have to have the entrances. Because the match isn't going to sell the match.
And you also have to have a concussed Goldberg.
But like even with John, anybody that's mediocre in ring, that's more about the character that they've built, needs the spectacle. That's an essential. So saying like, yeah, you could do away with all this stuff and do away with the fanfare. Certain matches will fall completely flat without it because they need it.
But there's different ways you can build fanfare. Like, I mean, even the old sets, how they used to have different sets for the pay-per-views, made it feel different, made it feel more special than just like, oh, we're watching Raw.
And not only that, but like, okay, Basement, when Goldberg comes out at a pay-per-view versus when he comes out at Raw, which one feels more like Goldbergy?
Well, when he comes out on Raw, he's not wrestling. He just walks out and
right. But I'm talking about his shirt. But I'm talking about his entrance in general, because like when he came out at Saudi Arabia, and even when he came out at SummerSlam, he had the pyro and the long walk and all that shit. When he comes out on Raw, he doesn't have any of that shit, and it's just like completely lackluster because he lacks any other kind of quality that anybody would actually fucking like.
But the thing is, like when he wrestles, if he gets that spectacle, then when he comes out on Raw just to confront someone, they can get away with not doing that because they don't need to. But when he wrestles, he's like, fucking get the marching band, get the trumpets, explode the whole fucking universe with pyro. Like, he needs that, just like Undertaker needs his entrance. His entrance is huge to building his character.
Right, but here's another one whose entrance is huge that no longer gets the entrance that they had before, which was a huge factor with him, is Brock Lesnar.
He needs pyro.
Yes, and he doesn't get it. So like his entrance is very, very lackluster without that pyro.
But he only wrestles at pay-per-views, so they should be able to do it. On Raw and SmackDown, I don't think anybody needs pyro. I don't think the people that need pyro shouldn't even be featured in matches on Raw and SmackDown.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I agree.
But this is why Triple H comes out fucking with chariots and fucking skulls all over himself.
But that's the thing, is he understands the bravado of it, and he only does it when it makes sense. He doesn't do it all the time.
Well, actually, at this last takeover, he did it with the Dream. He did it with Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream came out with Raptors cheerleaders,
and
that's different than pyro. That's actually
I agree.
pandering to the city, but working with the character at the same time, which is great. Like that, those are the things they can do. Smoke machines, how much could they cost? They have them already, so use them. Pyro, I know, is expensive. Especially, it's not necessarily the pyro itself; it's the pyrotechnic that's using the pyro. But at the same time, like certain things need it, man. The character needs it.
Yep. Agreed. Anything else? Trek?
No, I agree. And, the reason they don't do it on Raw is because they didn't do it on Raw for Goldberg that one time, is because they thought it was going to be a huge surprise, but they had already leaked that a couple weeks ago that he was going to face Ziggler.
I don't think that's why they didn't use pyro. It's Rod, like Basement said. It's Raw. Why does it need pyro?
Yeah. No, I did not the pyro, but I mean just that they didn't show the march from the back and stuff, that he just came out.
But he also wasn't really wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, they've shown when he first debuted, he wasn't wrestling either, and they show him coming out the same way against The Rock.
So that was every time.
No, but that's like the thing is like he's not even in ring gear. Like it loses its luster if you show it too much. You use it when it needs to be.
And a t-shirt.
Use it when it needs to be used. I actually 100% agree with the way they've been using. Like Goldberg is a fucking pile of shit, but when he comes out just to confront somebody, he doesn't need fucking sparklers.
Okay. Prime example of one of the best superstar entrances, if not the best of all time, that does not need pyro and it's just plain and simple, is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Literally, all they needed was that music hitting. As soon as that glass broke, fucking stadium lost their mind.
Mm-hmm. But that was his character. His character made sense for that entrance. Some entrances are like the slow, melodious music and shit like that. His was like, surprise, motherfucker!
In your face right away. Yeah.
But like there was also, I remember his entrance when they had him on a pay-per-view and they actually had like a glass pane break.
Yeah.
And that's all you need when you want to showcase him a bit stronger than just that entrance. But his entrance was never like, he had grandiose entrances, entering on a beer truck, entering with ATV, things like that. Small things that they can use. Yeah, Zambonis.
And those also came to be some of the most memorable moments in wrestling history because they were seldomly used.
Because he didn't enter on an ATV all the fucking time.
Exactly.
The guy just walked to the ring.
Except for when he was the commissioner and he'd come in all the time to the ring and all that. But
yep. Totally.
A place for everything, in all honesty.
Oh,
that's the way I look at it.
Staying on the last thing about WWE. Listening to me again. Whatever. I don't fucking care. WWE is going to launch its own podcast with Endeavor Radio. No date set yet. What?
Audio, not radio.
Yeah, it's podcast network. Yeah, they're going to create their own. And why not? Everybody has a podcast about WWE, so WWE's going to have their own podcast network.
Mm-hmm.
Would I rather listen to random people like us talking about WWE? If we're talking about it from a fan base, yes. But it's also very intriguing to hear those guys talk about their business because they know.
It depends on who. It depends on who it is. Because if it's Sam Roberts, I don't ever want to hear that fucking shit ever.
No,
ever.
I'm
sorry.
It has to be the
but I'm
wrestlers.
not.
It has to be the wrestlers.
Like I'm just
Otherwise,
not
I
a
don't care.
fan of him. Like he just.
Yeah. Did you hear what Heather just said?
No, I didn't.
She said it's going to be superstar focused.
Okay, see that now that I can get behind, but like I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mind Sam Roberts when he first came around, but now that they have him on all these like pay-per-view pre-shows, the guy is annoying. His voice annoys the fuck out of me. I'm sorry. I'm just not a Sam Roberts fan.
You are.
He's very Peter Roseberg.
Oh God, fuck that guy too.
I don't feel any way about these guys. I mean, they say they're like, I don't walk away from them doing their thing and being like, oh, I fucking hate this dude. He's just kind of like another commentator.
If you listen to them,
I'm sorry.
You listen to them when they're not under contract to WWE and they're talking freely, their stuff is so much better. And that's the only thing that I'm kind of worried about is if they have, like, for example, like Zack Ryder's podcast, are they going to try to like move it over there? Because if so, then they're going to be restricted with a lot of what they can say. So a lot of the people who do have podcasts, like example, Renee Young has her own podcast. If she's going under WWE's like umbrella, she's going to have to change a lot of how her content is created, which I think will kind of hurt it.
But are you sure?
Because look at the Stone Cold podcast. That was the prime example of the best it could be. And that's what I'm hoping they actually do.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, look at Bruce Pritchard.
Bruce Pritchard isn't attached to the WWE.
No, but they did the podcast for the network.
I know they did. But it wasn't watered down.
Network wasn't that bad. I mean, it's pretty cool.
It wasn't watered down.
Check your cutting it up, bud. Yeah, I don't know. It's just superstar driven or superstar backed. In other words, that has my attention. Like, I could get behind that because it kind of gives you like an insight into these superstars that you may not have seen before. Because they might do specials on the superstars and all that stuff, or the table for 3 or whatever. But this is going to kind of give you a more in-depth look into the life of a superstar.
Well, the way I look at it, like, they've already been doing this kind of, except they've been doing it with the camera, like table for 3 and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to actually see what they're doing. That could easily be transitioned to a podcast. And if that's the type of material they're going to put out, then that's good for them. Whoever wants to listen to it, now they have another way to listen to it. If you're driving or going to the gym or something like that, you don't want to load up a YouTube video and lose all that data. So the podcast is a smart decision. It should have been done a while ago, but
how are they going to roll it out? Is it going to be part of your network subscription where you can download, or is it going to be a fully other thing that you have to purchase?
No further details have been disclosed as of yet, not even a date as to when it's launched.
No, but I'm saying, but that's what I'm apprehensive about is how they're going to roll it out, and if I have to.
Well, I mean, they could go on to like what is it, the Podbean or whatever it is, because like a lot of their stuff on there is free.
Any of them.
Yeah, a lot of their stuff is free. So.
Yep.
Same with iTunes.
And also.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when they had Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard.
Yep.
Yeah.
It wasn't watered down, and that was on the WWE network. So I don't think they'll water them down at all because yes, it's under their umbrella, but I don't think that they'll water it down too much. Because if you've ever listened to Bruce Pritchard on the network, on the Something to Wrestle With on YouTube, some of the shit that he says,
but he's not a WWE superstar.
WWE would shut him down, and they have not shut him down yet.
But there's a lot of superstars already that have their own podcasts. So like. Yeah, they have their own podcasts, but WWE, since they're under contract with WWE, they still almost have like a little hold on these guys because they're still only allowed to say certain things or whatever if the WWE says so. Well, the WWE hasn't really constricted these guys with their own podcasts, so maybe we'll get lucky and this podcast will be more of like a PG-14-ish kind of thing where they can just kind of say what they're thinking.
I feel like this is like the best idea. If WWE wants to focus on quantity over quality, this is a step in the right direction to give more quantity without focusing on hurting the quality of the actual show. This is something I can get behind where more show time I can't. But, you try to tackle different platforms, allow other people to listen to certain things. I mean, I'm interested enough to hear about, oh, this is what happened in the ring, and this guy did this, and this guy did that, and like the viewpoint of them, it doesn't need to be rated R, or it doesn't need to be anything but PG for them to talk about that shit.
Right. I agree. I just It's just something that was brought up, and I heard about it today, and Heather put it on here, and I think it's a good idea for them to do it because
what were you saying? I would know more about earlier.
I don't fucking remember.
Well,
Anything? Go ahead.
it was like a week or two ago they announced that Gerald Briscoe's getting his own podcast, so it wouldn't surprise me if that's the first one that launches.
I don't know if I want to listen to Gerald Briscoe talk.
Yeah,
No, I know, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Pretty good in interviews.
I don't know, Mr. Math Man. Yeah, you want to listen to that motherfucker talk for an hour? Are you kidding me?
I gotta go get some ice.
Network, as you always say, and watch one of on the lists or something like that. He's in them quite often.
Yeah, well, he's a great wrestler, but
no, I'm saying he's there talking about the clip they showed.
And listen to him talk, and he talks like fucking.
Not in those interviews, he doesn't.
Yeah, okay.
But can you imagine if Edge and Christian had one though? Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Well, they have a podcast.
They have one.
I love the Edge and Christian. It's totally reeks of awesomeness.
You just call them.
Yeah, the show's great.
I love this.
So, with that being said, the only other thing, the New Japan Super J Cup started in Cali.
Yesterday.
It started in California yesterday.
No, it started in Washington, actually.
Washington, okay.
Well, whatever.
Super J Cup, more like Super Gay Cup, am I right?
Shut up, Father.
Not funny, sicky pants. Go lay down.
So that started, and I know the first round took place, but I wanted to give my predictions for who I think is, or who we all think. Gina, you have all the people that are or were involved, right?
Yes. Do you want me to give you the rundown, all the lists that were originally involved, or all of the lists of the people that are still?
No. Go from the start.
Okay, from the start, we had first match last night was Will Ospreay versus Amazing Red. We have Sho versus Ishimori.
Yep.
Carl Connors versus TJP.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie Eagles versus El Phantasmo.
Mm-hmm.
Taguchi versus Jonathan Gresham. Yo versus Dragon Lee. Caristico versus Bushi. And Rocky Romero versus Sabarano Jr.
Now, I'm going to tell you who I think, and I looked at that up and down that list. There's a couple people on there that I think should win it, but Robbie Eagles is my pick. Now he probably fucking
He's a good pick. He's a good first round pick.
I think he's winning the whole thing.
Okay. Anybody else?
Looking at the whole tournament, there's some names I don't recognize, and maybe if I saw them, I would. I think Will Ospreay will have a good showing. I think Eagles should probably win. But I also think TJP will probably get a bit of something going on, because where else is this guy going?
Not only that, but TJP, he really is an amazing wrestler, mostly technical wrestling, but he didn't get a very good run in WWE, and he's a cocky son of a bitch, no doubt, but he's good.
I'm interested to see what his New Japan style will look like, because he was never a guy that hit hard. So if he can't accomplish that, then he might have some problems.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll give mine.
Okay.
Now that I know who all moved on and all that.
Well, I haven't said who's moved on yet, but
well, he might know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've seen the spoilers this morning.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I won't say anything. I'll that's your that's your job. But sorry. Oh,
okay.
Fucking illnesses.
Fucking illnesses. Oh, Bobby.
This is going to be a damn good tournament. Well, either way you go, you can't go wrong with this tournament unless you're not a New Japan fan. Then, and if you're not, then what the fuck is wrong with you?
Right. So who you got?
Sorry. I'm gonna go with Will Ospreay.
I'm gonna join you in saying that's my actual pick.
That's a really good pick. Dory, I know you don't know in New Japan, but you just want to take a wild guess?
No, because I'm not educated enough to make a guess. I'm gonna go with whatever you guys think.
Okay.
I don't want to.
Trek?
I have no idea. Go for it.
Okay, Heather?
I'm torn between Robbie Eagles and Will Ospreay. I'm gonna go with Robbie Eagles.
Okay. I know the shit already, but I'll tell you what I was gonna go with.
Okay.
From the very beginning, I said either Robbie Eagles or Will Ospreay were gonna win this. One of the two.
That's what
I think. I think I sided with Ospreay just because I know he just signed that big contract there. He's devoted to it. Mm-hmm. I see them giving him either a far. I don't know how the bracket's breaking down, but I give him a far run regardless, and that's why I'm going with him.
Also, though, I don't know if he's going to win this because he won the best of the Super Juniors.
Well, the only reason that I could agree that he could win it is because they are pushing him really hard.
Yeah. Well, and another one that I think could end up winning it is TJP because, like,
I don't see him winning it.
I don't know though, but when he wrestled in the Cruiserweight Classic before, he was kind of watered down in WWE style. He was pretty goddamn good. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with one of those three: Ospreay, Eagles, or TJP. El Phantasmo though is another really good one. Keep an eye on him. But okay.
So who won the first round matches?
All right, first round pick. JP, you were out immediately.
Really? He lost.
He did, and that's only because he went up against El Phantasmo, and El Phantasmo actually cheated for the victory. He went with a low blow.
I figured he might do something like that.
Yeah. So going down the bracket, we had, like I said, Ospreay versus Amazing Red, and Ospreay won that match. So then he'll go on to, I believe it's tonight, he'll face the winner of this next match, which is Sho versus Ishimori, and Sho won that one.
Okay.
So tonight Ospreay versus Sho. TJP won over Carl Connors, and he'll be going up against El Phantasmo, who won over Eagles.
Okay.
Taguchi actually won over Jonathan Gresham, which that one surprised me.
He's actually my dark horse. I was thinking about him.
That one actually super surprised me.
He is a former cruiserweight. He is a former light heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
And he is the leader of Taguchi. See, everybody forgets that. He acts goofy, but he is their leader.
Okay, so Taguchi tonight will be taking on the winner between Yo and Dragon Lee. And this was another one that kind of surprised me. Dragon Lee won that one. So it'll be Taguchi versus Dragon Lee. Yes, Dragon Lee is very, very good, but they've been pushing Sho and Yo for so long that I just figured that Yo was going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so then we had Caristico winning over Bushi, and he will be facing Sabarano Jr., who won over Rocky Romero. So that's where we stand right now.
Wow.
I feel like the first half of the bracket is going to be Ospreay versus TJP, and the second half is actually going to be New Japan talent. It's going to end with like New Japan versus not like, even though Will Ospreay is New Japan talent, it's just like, I guess like it's going to end with some guy that's not Japanese versus some guy that is.
Well, I definitely think it's going to end up with Ospreay versus TJP versus El Phantasmo is going to be a great fucking match. But El Phantasmo isn't going to be able to do that shit with TJP because TJP can play dirty too. So I actually agree with Basement, and I think it's going to be Ospreay versus TJP in the semifinals on that one.
I mean, New Japan have been pushing people that were ex-WWE talent to get people to watch New Japan that aren't Japanese.
That's true.
And then I think it could end up ultimately being Osprey versus Dragon Lee in the finals.
I don't want to see that again.
It was a great match, though.
I know, but it's. Imagine if it was WWE. We already had that match. You gotta
Well,
see it again.
but that's only because I don't know. Like, I really don't. I'm not familiar with this Caristico and Sabarano Jr.
Man, TJP could make it to the finals and lose.
It's true, or he could make it to the finals and win.
I hope he
don't think that happens because this is like the first we're seeing of him in New Japan.
See,
but who knows?
This is what WWE is missing for me right now, though, is that that unpredictability, where there's several people that you could see winning the tournament.
They're kind of doing it with King of the Ring. They subverted my expectations. I mean, I'm not like pleased, but it's still better than what I thought was going to happen.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch on Tuesday. So did Kevin Owens? Did he get booted by Shane or what?
He got beat.
He got beat.
Yeah.
See, but then again, that's a surprise.
No,
but that's a good.
But
it was
and
stupid.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. So Shane McMahon came down, and he was a ringside enforcer.
Okay.
He came in, fucking distracted Kevin Owens, and fucking it was stupid.
The whole storyline beforehand.
Elias rolled him up, and then a quick 1, 2, 3.
The storyline beforehand, Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon had to talk, and he's like, well, you know what? You can't lay hands on a referee, or I'm going to have to fire you.
Set it up, yeah.
So, but like you knew at that point, either Elias was going to come out with a referee shirt on, or Shane McMahon was going to be the stand-in referee.
Yeah. But even though I know I said or whatever, I kind of like that after thinking about it for a few seconds, because I know we were bitching about like there's really no reason why Kevin Owens should be in the King of the Ring. So I like that factor that he's kind of taken out of it now.
But they're still. I guarantee you, they're still telling that story. That's why they did this King of the Ring.
What I see is Elias is probably going to get eliminated next because of the 24/7 championship being on his waist. Like they're not going to be able to suspend it every time he wrestles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's his way out, in my opinion. So I mean, I'm happy that they didn't put because if Kevin Owens continued, this is the best case scenario for me. Kevin Owens leaving in the first round.
Yeah, because I mean he doesn't need the push. He doesn't need the exposure, so it does make a lot of sense.
So there is the brackets.
I know what I'm thinking now. It's changed because I thought they were doing the 316 bullshit again, and I'm glad they are not.
So Samoa Joe beat Cesaro. Cedric Alexander beat Sami Zayn.
Mm-hmm.
Andrade beat Apollo Crews. And Elias beat Kevin Owens by fuckery to advance. And I still see that storyline being that King of the Ring being the storyline of Kevin Owens getting fucked over by Shane McMahon.
I'm glad. I think they might have excommunicated that storyline from the King of the Ring, and they did it in the first round, which I will have to. I shouldn't even. I never wanted Kevin Owens to be in it at all. But if you're gonna have him in it, have him leave. Have that storyline be built in the first round, and never touch this King of the Ring tournament again.
Yeah, I went 2-2 in this.
I don't remember. Did I pick I picked Owens, didn't I?
I think we all did.
Everybody went to it. Heather has it.
No, I think I went. I think I went Andrade, Cedric.
Yeah, I
and
thought
Samoa
it was.
Joe.
I thought it was 3-2.
I could honestly see it being
because I changed my pick with Andrade and Apollo Crews.
Yeah, I could still see it being Drew and Elias in the finals.
No, I think Elias loses next, and I actually think he loses to Buddy Murphy. They've been giving this guy so much.
Yeah, Buddy Murphy's getting a push like no tomorrow.
He is getting a push. He just beat Daniel Bryan, man.
Yeah, I thought I could have sworn I went 3-4.
No, Alex, I have not heard anything about any women's Mae Young Classic or Cruiserweight tournaments, and to be honest with you,
I have heard rumors of Evolution 2. But
Oh, for fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
if they do Evolution 2, then they better fucking do it better than the first one. That's all I gotta say.
I mean,
and it better be promoted.
I don't know how much more they can promote it.
Yeah, it was pretty heavily promoted, even though it was made overnight.
But if you remember, there was another pay-per-view. I think it was Saudi Arabia. Was it Saudi Arabia or another pay-per-view?
Yeah, it was Saudi Arabia.
Because like they pushed Evolution for a few weeks or whatever, pushed it hardcore. But then as soon as the Saudi Arabia thing came, then they just forgot completely about Evolution and started pushing the Saudi Arabia thing.
Yep.
Well,
yeah. It was too much all at once. The Evolution pay-per-view is going to suffer from the same thing Saudi Arabia did, where it's Saudi Arabia can only be pushed with the men, just like Evolution can only be pushed with the women. Mm-hmm. So you're cutting out half the roster.
There's been rumors that since Saudi is October 31st, Halloween, that the next night is SmackDown. So there's been rumors Evolution 2 might be the first all women SmackDown. That's what.
Well, I mean that would make sense, having Evolution 2 be in the first all women SmackDown, because the men are still traveling over, in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And plus, it would be a nice first for. I'm sure Fox would be very happy with the first all women SmackDown. I mean, they would be able to say that within a matter of weeks of bringing the show to the network. I'm sure they could promote the heck out of that too.
But if they do Evolution like they've done the Saudi Arabian shows, which I'm sure they will, I'll have the exact same excitement about both. And in all honesty, they're both shows that are house shows.
I could really honestly give, and I'm not trying to sound like a chauvinistic pig, but the last one failed. I don't know how much better the next one would be.
I don't think they're needed. Just like I don't think the Saudi Arabian shit is needed.
That's why.
Go ahead, Gina. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that's why I was kind of agreeing with Trek. Like that would be a good idea to make it the first all women SmackDown, because it's not a pay-per-view, and you won't have so much time that has to have filled. Because a pay-per-view is normally 4 or 5 hours. Well,
but you know what? Good luck floating
it.
Good luck floating the idea of the all-women SmackDown when SmackDown moves to Fox and it's in its gestation stage. They're not going to go on board with that. I don't think
that's a good thing for Fox with the fucking women's movement that's going right now.
It's not a good thing for viewership.
Yeah, but Fox would promote that to the hilt.
You're missing the point. They may promote it, but who's going to watch it? That's
the viewership will drop. I'm telling you right now. Just like the thing about wrestling right now is it needs to feature both men and women. That's the way it should be. That's the way most things should be. I don't want to see an all-male pay-per-view. I don't want to see an all-women pay-per-view.
I agree.
There's no need for any of that.
I said this a long time ago. There's no need for the Women's Royal Rumble. I don't.
Well,
there is, and I think the Women's Royal Rumble, like I said before, should be on SummerSlam, or it should be at the Royal Rumble, and the men should be at SummerSlam.
But here's the thing. They will almost have to do either an all-women SmackDown or an all-women's pay-per-view, because otherwise people are going to start looking, and they still have those Saudi deals going on, and the women are not allowed to wrestle over there. So you're going to get women that are saying that the company is sexist, not the wrestlers themselves, but I'm talking about viewers.
That is a really stupid point of view. I'm sorry, because women
it's not my point of view. I'm just
saying. Raw and SmackDown constantly. The women have main evented WrestleMania. The women are as important now as the men. So
I completely agree with you. I'm just saying that there's people out there. I mean, they're doing, like Heather said, they're doing it already, and the women have so much exposure. No, but in the same sense, you know what's going to happen, and any kind of negative press against the WWE is something that they don't need right now.
But the thing is, like the press isn't the press you'd get from not doing an all women pay-per-view is, I don't think.
The press, the headline reads, Vince McMahon sexist against female wrestlers. You
Which
don't think
is
that
stupid.
people would?
Like, anybody with half a
don't-
brain could
I
realize
know
that's
that, but that's my point. You don't think that the feminazis that are out there right now aren't going to latch onto that?
Well, they'll latch on to fucking anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's not the fan
Exactly.
base you want.
I'm
As for
just
me,
saying it's negative press.
Should we do an all fucking paralyzed wrestling event?
What?
See,
I'm just saying, like, if you cater to like any specific group, then you can't just stop there.
Yeah.
You gotta cater to every group.
I completely agree with you. I'm just saying that it's going to happen if they don't do the all women's thing.
And if WWE caves into it, then it'll fail. It'll fail. Ultimately, I hate to say that, but it'll fail because, like, I agree.
Right, but
I agree with Basement. They need to not have just a women's pay-per-view. They need to not have just a men's pay-per-view. I don't like the Saudi fucking events at all because they don't do anything.
I agree. But that's what I was gonna say. It's like I agree that they shouldn't have like all men's events or all women's events. But the sad part is they are locked into a 10-year deal with Saudi Arabia, and until Saudi Arabia changes their tune, that's all men.
Yeah, but that's the difference. There is a reason that it's all men's.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can debate as much as you want until we're all
but how fair is that to the female superstars? That's all I am playing devil's advocate. Like, I agree with you guys. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I felt like the women's equality, like the revolution, the evolution of women in wrestling, kind of hit its peak when they main evented WrestleMania.
The fact that
what else could you want at that point?
Like, I think we should be moving to the point of we don't need women's all pay-per-views. We don't need to make a big event deal of it anymore. It should just be that women are wrestlers and women do the same thing as men, and that's it. Like, I feel like when our kids grow up, like, it won't be a thing anymore that it has to be the first women's. Like, it'll just be that they're women wrestlers. And
I feel like you're placating a group that aren't even your actual fan base. They're just angry people.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm on board with you guys. You guys know how I view this shit. Like, I'm on board with you guys completely. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I know you are.
But at the same time, too, I mean, they can't wrestle, but they have had, like, other events where the women have been able in different areas to break through and do things that they haven't been able to do, like in India and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think as a WWE superstar, they understand they're going to go to different countries. There's going to be different cultures, and that's just part of the job. And the fact that they had, Evolution so close to the Saudi Arabia show, I didn't like that because it's like, okay, so you're just pretty much giving them a pay-per-view because they can't go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and I think
how do we know that though? I mean, that's speculation. I'm just saying.
Because you got to remember, even though the women didn't go to Saudi Arabia, they were still paid as if they did go.
Yeah,
it's true. That's very, very true.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, I hear that all the time, and I'm not saying that it's not true, but it's speculation. We can't say that that's why they had the Evolution pay-per-view.
And not to mention the fact that they have Renee over there working.
They do.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen it time and time again in like today's world where like a minority fights for. I'm not saying women are a minority, but they've been treated like one for a long time. So a minority kind of like fights for equality and then gets equality, but still want to be considered a minority. Yeah. It's like you can't get what you wanted and then say, nope, it's not enough.
But here's the fact. Here's the sad fact today, Basement. Feminism is no longer a movement. That's why I refer to them as feminazis, because they no longer want equality. They want to be better than men. They want to be treated better than men. And that is not cool in my book. Like the feminist movement, it's won. It's won already. It should be dead, but it's not, because you have these women out there that literally want to see the death of men. I mean, for fuck's sake, wasn't it in our chat?
Why would you want that as your fan base? Is that the fan base? Why would you ever target that fan base? That's like targeting, we have all this shit going up, but we need to adhere to the KKK in some way. Well, so let's have a fucking bedsheet match.
Oh my God.
No, it's not going to happen. Doesn't make any sense.
I completely agree with you. But all I'm saying is that whether you want them as your fan base or not, they're out there. and they're watching and listening to fucking everything, it seems, and they're going to put their 2 cents in it.
That's okay.
Regardless. That's
okay. They've always put their 2 cents in, regardless, whoever it is. But like catering to that fan base makes no sense to me because it's catering to the actual like real toxic fan base, and no company's going to grow off that.
Well, and this is
AEW.
I was just going to say that like this is one of the things that I'm hesitant about with AEW, because AEW they really are trying to cater to everyone, and there's going to be issues with that.
And the problem is they aren't trying to cater to everyone.
They don't want the casuals.
They don't want casuals.
Well, not the casuals.
It's
no,
not
but
the casuals.
I'm talking
they're
about
trying to cater to
all-inclusive.
black and white thinking, which is the problem.
I'm talking about like the all-inclusive. Like we saw what's his name? The guy that doesn't have any legs. I can't remember his name.
What is all-inclusive?
Oh.
If you have a disability of any kind, you're not going to be left out in the cold for their event.
Exactly.
Are you talking about the wrestlers, or are you talking about the people?
I'm talking about the wrestlers, because
and then the wrestlers
fan
base
and the fan base.
I thought you guys were talking about the fan base.
No.
The guy with no legs. I don't want to see that guy.
By the way,
I don't want to see that guy anymore. He laid in the fucking ring for fucking most of the match.
The bottom line is it's featuring people with disabilities. It's featuring people that are transgender. It's like you're featuring a lot of people in an age where like everything if you tell somebody that they are being oppressed, they will act as such.
And
that's the problem that's happening right now.
That's the problem that I'm worrying about with AEW, because they are all inclusive in the fact that they don't exclude any type of wrestlers, and in that they are all inclusive in their fan base, because the fan base that is watching, if you see a handicapped wrestler and you're handicapped yourself, you're going to be more liable to watch. You know what I mean? Because you're going to be supportive of that wrestler.
Well, then what happens when that disabled wrestler doesn't get the push that everybody thinks he should?
That's what I'm worried about.
This is the problem with those fan bases. A lot of the time, it's like, yeah, you have somebody that fits like whatever I have going on, so I can relate. Now, why aren't they world champion? Oh, I know why. It's because they're this.
What's going to happen when they actually let Nyla Rose go her full extent, and she ends up losing, or she ends up hurting someone?
Oh, they'll learn.
That's just the type of shit that I worry about, because it's exactly what Basement said.
Actually, Gina, what you have to worry about is Cody and his own fucking mouth.
It's true.
That too.
Because there is a report on Bleacher Report of Cody sitting there saying he is excited for what NXT is going to be doing, and he knows people are going. It gives people a choice, and I hope people choose us.
Yes, but did you happen to read what he said under that comment on Twitter? He said that he was hoping, the headline that is on that article is not everything that he said in that interview. He said basically like he's hoping that their product is going to be good enough to where people will choose to watch them live and watch NXT later, and not vice versa.
Okay, because if he's saying I hope NXT's product is good enough,
No, that wasn't what he was saying at all. Because like somebody called him out on that on Twitter, and he said, he said flat out, the article, like the headline of the article is not the whole article. Like
see,
that's the whole article.
That's why I don't read. Whenever I see something, I don't just read the title, and then you see people commenting on it. I said, did you even read the fucking article? And shut the fuck up.
No, it's reactionary. It's knee jerk all the time. That's the way the world works now. It's like, oh, you're told something, believe it, because it's media driven. It's clickbait. That's the world.
Yeah, I look, like I said, and I said this before. When it comes to AEW and NXT or WWE for that matter, does it really matter which one I watch? I don't care how many. I don't care who gets what rating. I don't care about the ratings. If it's not entertaining me, I'm not gonna watch it. Yes, WWE is not entertaining me, but yes, I watch it. But there's a reason why I do.
But the benefit that WWE is taking out of this is no matter what, they're still going to get the ratings, because even if they don't watch live on USA Network, the people who didn't watch live are still going to be watching it on the WWE Network the next day when it's uploaded.
I don't think it's going to be uploaded the next day.
They already said
it
it's
would
going to
be.
be uploaded on Thursday morning.
Yeah, they did
That's
say-
probably why they went with USA over Fox Sports, if that was like an actual option.
Because I think that they anticipated that some people may want to watch AEW with it being in its beginning stages, you know, kind of interested or whatever. And that's a smart business decision on their behalf.
Well, how much you bet that's going to change as time goes on?
Well, I mean, it could, you know, but I'm just saying it's a smart move on WWE's behalf to upload it onto the network the next day in order to ensure that no matter what, they're still going to have viewers.
Well, Truck and I had a really good conversation about this.
You have DVR.
Exactly.
True. But Truck and I had a really good conversation about this, about like it was never going to stay the same. As soon as something gets big enough to be on regular cable television, they're working towards steps of NXT being another SmackDown, basically. So yeah, you lost SmackDown, but we'll give you NXT. But we have to introduce it this way. We can't completely remove it from the network. We can't completely segregate the people that watch it on the network. But eventually, it will become another SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who asked in the chat about the Mae Young Classic?
Alex,
Triple H said during the conference call for NXT Toronto, expected announcement next 2 weeks, and that was like 2 weeks ago. So keep listening to what Triple H says. It'll probably be before his next conference call.
Why do they need another Mae Young Classic?
Because they use it to bring in all the female talent they don't have already.
Yeah, but they don't need any more female talent right now.
Fucking talent.
I know. They think they do. That's WWE. They think they do. I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying they think they need it.
I didn't watch the last one. I probably won't watch this one either. So.
Hey, we need more Japanese waifus, damn it.
There's no guarantee that they're going to be
We got
more Japanese waifus. Stop.
No,
You know,
I won't stop until I get a female roster full of Japanese waifus, goddammit.
Okay, I will say this, though, with the female roster, the best thing in my book that they could do at this point in time would be to bring Jazzy Gabbert from NXT UK and either put her in regular NXT or put her on the main roster, because she is older and she is good. You have to use her while you can.
I agree. I don't know if she'll ever get there, though.
I mean, I don't think so, because she's in her early 40s.
She's like 39.
I
thought she was like 41, to be honest.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought she was early 40s, but either way around, she's getting up there in her age, and I know she's had a few surgeries already. So like, if they're gonna use her, they need to use her now, even if it's just for enhancement. Bring her over to regular NXT.
Here's the problem with like,
yeah.
Well, with somebody that has like, I guess the persona that she does, it's very hard to use them as enhancement talent. Because like she's tall, strong. Unless she'll fizzle out really quickly as enhancement talent if she's beaten constantly.
Right.
Well, that's
it's like using Braun Strowman as enhancement talent. Like you kill him completely, but eventually beating him means nothing.
Which is why I think she would be the perfect opponent for Nia Jax. She comes back.
Yep. I agree completely, because she's like really the only one that they have that would be believable for Nia Jax.
But look at the progress or the progression that Jazzy Gabber has to make to get to fighting Nia Jax. Which sounds really stupid because she's much better than her. It's just like, can you see her going from NXT UK to fighting on Raw?
No.
In the time frame it'll take Nia Jax to be repackaged and returned.
Well, she's already being repackaged.
And then, well, that's what he's saying. And then having Jazzy Gabbert there, do you think they're gonna have Nia Jax lose to her? Doubt it. Doubtful.
I mean, in a way, they're not wrong. It's like it's difficult to push a talent that's towards the twilight of their career, but it's also difficult to use a talent that's not necessarily like versatile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the twilight of their career, that's the I guess the risk they run when they're giant.
I just don't understand. Okay, like right now, I don't see any real competition for her in NXT UK because all the women over there are tiny. Okay, so like, what the fuck, man? Like, they're not believable. Even if you bring her over to NXT, have her fight Shayna Baszler.
But it's not, well,
the thing that
Yim.
kills
She
me,
can go toe-to-toe with Mia Yim.
The thing that kills me with WWE, it's like, oh, we're not going to push you because though you have, like Samoa Joe, for instance, we're not really going to push you because although you have all of the like tools in the tool chest, you're a bit older.
Yeah.
Well,
what does that matter? You're going to get 2 to 3.
Older than he is.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, age doesn't really matter. You're going to get at least 2 to 5 years of somebody that can pull in numbers, that can put up T-shirts, that can sell shit. Like, age to a point, like, doesn't necessarily matter. And DDP was the first person to fucking prove that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, the tournaments, I mean, I didn't even watch the Cruiserweight Classic. I don't like Cruiserweight wrestling that much anyway, but...
Oh my god, though, it was so good, JP. It wasn't even all flippy shit. You would actually probably like it. It wasn't all flippy shit.
It was actually a good tournament, but I would say, like, naming it Cruiserweights instead of light heavyweights was a mistake.
Yeah, I agree.
Because people will, like, I don't like, you could be fucking 180 pounds and still do power moves against other 180 pound guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cruiserweights kind of promotes the idea that these guys are going to be fucking quadruple moonsaulting on each other.
Do you know why they said cruiserweight? So in boxing, lightweight or light heavyweight is smaller than a cruiserweight. Cruiserweight is a step below the heavyweights.
But even if that's okay, so that's boxing. But like, what is the stigma with cruiserweights in wrestling?
No, I get it. I'm just telling you that's why they probably did that.
I don't think so. I think they went with cruiserweights because of that stigma, because that's what they wanted to promote. Because people have been asking for a cruiserweight title since WCW days.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like, as of any active companies that are still like active today, WWE is the only one that still uses the cruiserweight, aren't they? Like, everybody else refers to it as the light heavyweight championship.
They tried using light heavyweight back in the 90s. They flopped.
It failed.
Yeah.
That's a failure of booking, though, more than a failure of actual the name of the belt.
I think that they went with cruiserweight just because, like, when you think cruiserweight, like for me anyway, I immediately think back to like the end of the Attitude Era, early Ruthless Aggression era, where like there was Paul London and yeah, like they were very flippy. But that's what everybody thinks of. So if you think about it, it made sense in that aspect to name it cruiserweight.
But also look at the rest of the world. The rest of the world is cashing in on nostalgia. So why wouldn't WWE follow suit?
True.
And even Triple H even said that last year when they were going. He even brought up the fact that the #1 movie 2 weeks ago is Halloween. He said it's nostalgia backing.
Yeah. That's all that this world is anymore, is nostalgia. You look at movies, wrestling, fucking music, anything that you look at is all nostalgia factor.
I mean, shit, we're even getting 2 more Halloween movies in the next 2 years, so it's not like nostalgia's going away. They're still trying to do Friday the 13th movies, and that's stuck, but they're still trying every year to do it, so.
Trek, I love you because no matter what topic we are talking on, you can always bring it back to Halloween. I love it.
It works.
Anyway.
You're an idiot.
I love it.
Anybody else got anything else they want to talk about? Nope.
I agree with the JP Trick. You're an idiot.
Hey, Triple H brought it up. He made it relevant again. So.
You're relevant.
Well, yeah, he is.
Speaking of cruiserweights, can somebody please tell me the difference between 220 and 217 pounds? 3 pounds, right?
Oh my God, this again.
Well, actually, I ended up winning that argument. He finally came to the realization that I was fucking right.
Oh my God.
So back in WCW, when Chris Benoit, yes, he was a great technical wrestler. He isn't what today's cruiserweight or light heavyweight is today. But back when Chris Benoit first came in to wrestling or into WCW, he was brought in with Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero to enhance the cruiserweight division. Then, he was never champion. I know he was never the champion because they actually said, no, we have something with this guy. We're going to put him to the next level up. Because he was 220 pounds, and I think the cutoff was 225. So.
But in the same sense, back then, if you remember, like there was a lot of the cruiserweights that were wrestling regular guys as well.
But and that's what I kept telling this guy. I'm like, your argument doesn't really even work because Seth Rollins would have been wrestling cruiserweights, yes, but he would have also been wrestling the Goldbergs and the Hulk Hogans and the Kevin Nashes and the Scott Halls. They would have been get beat because it was a fucking NWO, but Chris Jericho was a cruiserweight.
I mean, prime example, you look at Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio, sorry, Basement, I know you hate him, but Rey Mysterio would have been like delegated to cruiserweight status.
He was
only.
He was.
No, but I mean like in today's time, he would have been only cruiserweight. Like he would have never stood a chance for the heavyweight championship, ever.
No.
But back then, he fought for the heavyweight championship and he won.
I mean, there's times where you can do the David versus Goliath and pull it off. It should be few and far between. But I also feel like if the thing is like the extremes of the spectrum are where they should lie in terms of like how you book them. Mm-hmm. So like the super giant guys and the super small guys should be booked very similar in terms of how you use them. The core of the business now is in guys that are 220, 230 pounds. That's the people want to see.
Yep.
Do you guys happen to remember like who did Rey Mysterio win the title off of? I can't.
He was in a triple threat match with Big Show and
It was.
Well, I thought it was Eddie Guerrero, but I don't remember Big Show being in that match.
Eddie Guerrero.
No, because Eddie.
No. It was Eddie was in the triple threat.
I don't think so.
You know, it's Angle versus Mysterio versus Orton because Eddie had just passed away and Ray was doing that whole thing for Eddie.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was Ray versus Orton?
Ray versus Orton versus Kurt Angle. Angle had the belt, and he pinned Orton when Angle was outside the ring.
So it was a triple threat, goddammit. That's what we were saying.
Perfect fucking booking with that, though, because, okay, Rey Mysterio beating Kurt Angle makes no fucking sense whatsoever, right? But Rey Mysterio beating Randy Orton, a little bit more believable, especially if
Randy
there
Orton
was
bigger
like
than both of them combined.
No, but like especially what I'm saying is especially if like Angle and Orton were going at it and they wore each other down.
Well, see, that's what happened.
Sense.
Rey Mysterio won on a fluke.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The booking makes sense. Whereas today, if you were to do that, you would have to, like, if you book Kalisto versus fucking Braun Strowman, nobody is gonna believe that shit. Okay, whereas
they did it already.
Exactly. Nobody believed it.
The thing is, it's as hard to book Rey Mysterio as it is to book Braun Strowman because you're going to end up with the same problem. The fact that Rey Mysterio shouldn't necessarily have the title, but when Braun Strowman should have the title, who's he fighting? And eventually his character assassination after a while.
But but like my whole point with that was like back then, like they bring in the triple threat match, and that's when I'd like to see a triple threat match because then no matter who wins, it makes sense. Whereas now, people are like, "Oh, you can't put a cruiserweight versus a heavyweight because it wouldn't make any sense." Well, it would if you booked it right.
But look at Buddy Murphy. I think he could actually beat pretty much anybody on the roster. He might be a stretch for him to beat the giant, the Braun Strowman guys. But Braun Strowman's lost before, so I don't know. I feel like Buddy Murphy could have beaten Roman Reigns. Is that a stretch for anybody to think?
No.
Well, I mean, look at Finn Balor.
Just
Finn
physically,
Balor's
I'm talking about.
Finn's 190 pounds, and he's been beating some of the biggest guys out there.
Exactly.
Because
and he's technically a cruiserweight.
You highlight his movement. You highlight his moveset. Yes, he can beat anybody, but the way the wrestling has gone is versatility is better more than anything else, and always has been. At least in the technically new age of wrestling. That's why AJ Styles can wrestle anybody and have it be believable because he can move very well in the ring.
That and with Buddy Murphy, they kind of planted the seeds for Buddy Murphy to come to the main roster a long time ago. Because if you remember, when he first went to 205 Live, they had a storyline where he was struggling with the weight. He was struggling to meet the weight in order to stay in 205 Live and to stay on the main roster. So they kind of implemented the seeds for him to come up already because he was teetering on that line between cruiserweight and heavyweight.
Eat a burger, Murphy. Go to the main roster.
I'm starting to think Buddy Murphy might actually make it to the finals.
He may.
Just because of the way they've been pushing him.
My thing with Finn Balor, and I like Finn Balor, my thing with Finn Balor is I hate his fucking finisher.
I wish they would bring back Bloody Sunday. Or not Bloody Sunday.
Finisher in the WWE right now.
I wish that they would bring back... He's got half a
moveset that looks like it hurts somebody. The other half looks like he's actually doing everything he can to not hurt somebody.
Yeah, there's two moves that he needs to bring back, and one of them is Bloody Sunday, and the other one was, what is it, 1916? 1916. Like the 1916 finisher
drop
was...
kick, which he hardly does anymore.
Yeah, the 1916 was actually a believable finisher.
Yes.
I think with wrestlers nowadays, they should just be booked off of what their moveset is and what they can do in the ring, not based on what their weight is.
They do book them off their moveset.
Yep, that's why Seth Rollins is champion.
But I'm just saying, to me, the 205 guys should be just integrated.
They are
being
integrated. You're seeing it now. I know it's kind of recent, but they are actually doing it. This is why, now, I would say I've got a bit more reason to watch main roster because they're. I know they said a year ago, oh, we're going to listen to the fans. People that thought that would change overnight. No, it takes time for that ship to turn around.
The reason that people are well, it took them forever. It's because you can't change overnight. And people, today's society, everybody in today's society, and sometimes I do it myself, they want instant gratification. And if they don't get it, they're pissed off. This is why everybody's always upset with the WWE because they don't get instant gratification. And that's another issue that AEW is going to run into because what if they do something, they're trying to tell a story and they aren't given the answer to the story. You know what I mean? And and they're sitting there, well, where's this going? I was reading a Twitter. I didn't respond to it. I was reading a Twitter feed. It's well, I think they should do the Fiend versus Finn Balor, or the Demon, right now. It's what the fuck are you talking about? That is the dumbest thing they can do.
That needs to be built
and
up.
then they're there's no long-term booking anymore.
Another one is the Fiend versus Aleister Black. They need to do that at the fucking next
No.
What the fuck are you talking about?
No, they should.
Do they want one of them to be ruined?
This is the same thing they did with Shinsuke versus AJ Styles.
Yep.
What happened? One of them died because you can't do that.
And I will say this again and again and again, and I know I keep on talking about this pay-per-view, but the best WWE match that I have seen probably within the past 10 years was AJ Styles versus Finn Balor at TLC. And the reason why it was probably the best, it had a little bit to do because I was there live. Not so much, though, because I watched it when I got home, and it was the surprise factor of that because we didn't know that it was going to be AJ Styles until that. I think it was either that day or the night before.
And that's the thing too. If surprises are wonderful too, but I also don't mind waiting for something if it makes sense. Bray Wyatt versus Demon in 6 months from now, I can wait. It's when they tease it and then they don't deliver, even in the long term, that it's like excruciating. Yeah. It's like
I don't even think I would do it in 6 months. Like the problem is like the way I'm looking at Bray Wyatt, he needs to be built over the next year to be somebody that just doesn't lose.
Mm-hmm.
And is not featured very much.
But I am one of those people that I think that the first actual big time like match that he has with an actual person that he attacked should be Finn Balor. Well, not the first, because I know he's already done it, but the next one should be Finn Balor, but I don't think it should be right away. Like you guys said, it should be a few months. But the only reason why I say put him against Demon Balor is because even if Demon Balor loses, Finn Balor is still established enough within the company, and he has enough like of a fan base that it's not going to kill his career.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way, like in my opinion, no matter who they put against him, he shouldn't be losing at all. And like we talked about this before, like when he loses, it should be due to his internal struggle with his own character, not necessarily somebody beating him.
Yeah, like a DQ because he's like lost his mind and grabbed weapons.
Even if it's not a DQ and somebody pins him, it's more like he's not able to focus himself properly. They've already laid the seeds for this in that first match, but
right. Yeah, I just instant gratification is one of those things that is ruining wrestling because people want, and people are shitting on the product because they aren't getting exactly what they want. And that's why WWE, they're giving the fans what they want, but they have to tell the story so fucking fast because they want to give the fans what they want. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, this was shit. Well, no shit, it was shit because this is what you wanted. This is what you're going to get.
Perfect example of something that really bothered me is all the Miz Daniel Bryan stuff. Okay, he wasn't cleared he can wrestle. Daniel Bryan's been cleared for how long now, and they still haven't done anything with that. And that was like a couple of year build.
That storyline died in the water. Even though it had like all the build in the world to do something with, they abandoned it. And this is the same thing I'd say about the fucking Seth Rollins Brock Lesnar match. It was like they turned the ship around in one night.
Yeah,
and it made no sense.
Yep. Yeah, they ain't never gonna finish that.
No, but I'm saying that's a perfect example of how they could have done long-term booking, and I wouldn't have minded waiting. And now it's just like, nope, never going to happen. It's
well,
like,
they blew the wad on the story. The match that you've seen between those two, that was the finish to the story. That's what you get. That's what you get when you fans want instant gratification. Exactly what's happening.
I agree.
Well, and when you want instant gratification like that, like people want to bitch. Like I know Dory had said this before, but she kind of got buried. People want to bitch about long-term booking, but it's almost impossible to book long-term when you have to instantly satisfy all these fans. And AEW is going to run into that problem.
They will. And people can't say you can't say, well, they're not. They will.
Well, AEW is actually like focusing on a reactionary fan base than an actual fan base, which is gonna hurt them, man.
Especially too when they're trying to still build characters and storylines, and some of these people might not know who everybody is. Like it's kind of a weird place to be in. Yeah, like, to be booking like that.
See, there is a song that I like that fits this perfectly. It goes, "You can't always get what you want."
Oh my God.
And what is it that we get what we need? What do we need, Bobby?
Goldberg.
What you need
we
is
do not need Goldberg.
DJ Skinny Penis, motherfucker.
No, we don't need DJ Skinny Penis.
Oh God.
Yes, you do, motherfucker.
We need more Goldberg matches to have drinking games.
That's true.
Shut up, Trent.
I agree with that.
I actually agree with that as well.
It's just drink like 18 beers and watch a Goldberg match.
Yes,
that's the game.
Must have concussion.
Anybody got anything else they'd like to add? I'm pretty much out of stuff to talk about. To be honest.
I got one more thing to add. My balls, your chin, JP.
Shut up, Bobby. Oh my God. All right.
What'd you think about the Sami Zayn being relegated to like a mouthpiece for Shinsuke?
I loved it.
I don't mind it.
I
don't mind it. I don't mind it because Sami Zayn was never going to go anywhere anyway.
And not only that, but like if okay, I think back to one of my favorite matches in WWE, including NXT, and it was actually Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what those two can do facing each other. I'm excited to see what they can do together.
I think it's all. I'm sorry, Derek. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say they're planting the seeds for them to have another match.
And you know what? This is not something. Just gonna say that.
This is not something I knew that I needed, but you know what? Now that I see it, I'm perfectly fine with it.
It's something that the main roster needs to do.
And not only that, but like I said, that was one of the best matches that I've quite possibly ever seen on NXT.
I've seen better, but it was a good match.
It was a great fucking match. So like I am 100% on board with them.
I mean, watching the segment on SmackDown when Sami Zayn went and held up the Miz's head, I literally thought he was just gonna fucking Kinshasa Sami Zayn. But I'm more on board with them building off it.
I am too. Sorry. I think I liked it.
Well, they alluded to a lot of their history already, which I think is a good thing because maybe then they are planning a longer storyline, which I'm perfectly fine with. And the people who don't know the story of NXT, they'll probably go back now and look back into that and expose people to what they missed, which is also a good opportunity.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Well, they had to do something with Sami Zayn because Jesus Christ, what a waste of talent.
Right.
Yeah, and if I saw another feud between him and Kevin Owens again, I was gonna scream. Don't get me wrong, they're both great, but fuck my life.
They can do it again at their retirement matches in 20 years.
I feel like I could see that match in a couple of years at WrestleMania, and it would be incredible to see it at that stage at that point, and I think both guys would tear down the house. So I don't want to see it now, though. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, I agree. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna end the show, but go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say just basement. Honestly, out of SmackDown, I think that was one of my favorite things. This whole show was definitely.
And I know that Gina hasn't seen it. My favorite match was the I forgot.
The Eric Rowan's father reveal.
Oh my god. Okay, so on that, I do want to thank you for shit like that because I forget shit. That segment right there. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, that was so stupid." It was supposed to be.
Yeah.
They're leaving you hanging. You go watch the
JR Who Shot JR.
Not even Who Shot JR thing, but I'm talking about a WWE it was when they finally revealed who was behind the whole
Ministry of Darkness.
Yeah, the Vince. It was me, Austin. It was me all along.
Yeah.
That they left you hanging. Some of those shows with shit like that.
But you know what? It's not only that. This is the first time that they've actually alluded to what he said long ago, where he was like, "Oh, I got to do something I would never have done before. I got to Daniel Bryan was talking about going insane." And he even if you listen to what he said during that segment, he kind of talked. That was basically what he was saying. Mm-hmm. Because if you listen to it, he's like, I just he was basically saying, it's something I never did before. I do this, that's finally I think where the wrap up of that storyline for Daniel Bryan about I gotta go off the radar. I gotta do something different.
Right. So.
Plus, it was 20 seconds long. What the fuck?
Rushed. I don't think it's how they should have ended the show. I think maybe one of the last segments, but it felt too rushed because it was right at the end.
I'm okay with it. I think the rushedness of it was purposeful.
Yeah. It left you hanging. You gonna watch next week? I am.
Well, I'd watch no matter what. Not because.
Well, no, but I'm just saying. I want to see if. Because I know it's not him. I know he didn't do it, and. We don't know if it's Eric Rowan's dad. It looks like Eric Rowan, but I don't think it is Eric Rowan's dad. I think it's just a guy.
Some dude with a fake beard.
Yeah.
Somebody put that on Twitter. Somebody put that picture on Twitter, and they're like, "Caption this," and I'm like, "Daddy."
Yeah, but I think it's just them trying to go Roman Reigns is all it is. I don't know who did it. I still don't know who did it, but they did this shit on purpose. I think they did this shit
I honestly think this is like the red herring that they're doing in this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think it eventually, probably at Clash of Champions, we're going to see Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns, and it's going to be revealed that it has nothing to do with Daniel Bryan.
I think it's going to be something like that. They say, "Oh, we know who it is. We know who it is." As they turn toward Titantron, you see Daniel Bryan attack him from behind. He goes, "I lied. It was me."
I don't think he's going to be the guy that did it.
I don't either.
I think it'll be Nia Jax. She'll come back and she'll be like, "I attacked you. Blood feud."
That like just
I got a
shoot me
taste
now.
of
if that's
I got a
what you
taste
want.
of fighting the men.
Yeah.
I think it was Gilbert.
Of course you do.
Dick Big Johnson.
Fucking Gilbert.
Glacier is my choice.
Big Big Johnson, man.
It's not easy.
See, I can see that too. I can see them both have something to do with it.
I want to beat you within an inch. I really do.
Wait, you
Yeah,
want to
sure.
beat me, or you want to beat me all?
No, I don't.
Which one is it?
Dumbass. So anyway, there anything else, Basement, that I'm forgetting?
The only thing I'm going to say is both the main storylines on SmackDown, the Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon, and the Roman Reigns thing, I think, like, though I wasn't against what happened at the end, I think they kind of just, like, they can't carry the show.
No, they can't.
No.
They can't. They can't carry the show. You can't carry either show because one's 3 hours, one's 2 hours.
Well, these are SmackDown centric storylines.
I know,
for
but
the most part.
they had Roman Reigns on fucking Raw.
Wild
Everybody's
card.
saying they're doing away with the wild card rule. They aren't doing away with the wild card rule.
Not yet.
Until they do a
They're doing
draft.
away with
Not until they do a draft.
exactly.
And if they do a draft and they do have that fucking bullshit with Randy Orton and fucking the Revival, they better move the Revival because I don't want to see fucking the Randy Orton over on Raw if he's going to be on fucking SmackDown.
What do you think about the potential of having that a stable, Randy Orton and the Revival?
It doesn't matter.
We talked about this already.
It don't matter to me. If they're going to do it.
Might be okay. The problem is I don't. I hate it as much as I might like it.
Well, my thing is Randy Orton doesn't need a goddamn faction.
No.
He doesn't need to lead a stable. The last stable that he ran, it failed.
Yeah. Legacy.
It was terrible. It didn't work. It had potential to work, but it didn't work. Randy Orton is not a guy that can lead. Not saying he can't lead, but he can't. He's not a leader. He's not one of those guys that can lead a group of guys like fucking Triple H could or Ric Flair could. Randy Orton's better on his own.
Or is part of a tag team like with Edge.
Yeah, but
he can lead them to butt sex.
God, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Well, okay, I haven't been contributing much, and I want to contribute, damn it.
That's not contributing.
But that is not contributing. That's
yes, it is.
Okay.
You're a dumbass.
Whatever you say, buddy. Whatever you say.
All right.
You're just now figuring this out.
Yes, Bobby. Anybody else got anything?
Nope.
Just say, hope Ronda Rousey feels better after her finger got smashed in.
Oh yeah, God, that was.
Oh my God, that wasn't smashed in. Her finger like almost fucking came off.
She'll be fine. Ronda fucking Rousey.
Well, yeah, she'll be fine regardless because it's just a finger.
Well, but that's the thing. She said that like it was only 3 days post-op from the surgery, and she said that she was basically feeling great. She said that she had like movement and stuff back with it.
The last thing I heard, she was leaving to have a baby, and then she's like, "Well, my finger came off."
I don't know how they try to make babies, but jeez.
Right.
God damn.
Okay, well, y'all, I think we're gonna get out of here. I want to thank everybody.
Why does my wiener taste funny?
Oh my God, mute him.
That's not the right show, Bob, but that's the Gina show coming up.
Wait, what?
What?
Oh,
his
I
Wiener
got it.
tastes
I
funny.
get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I don't know if I want to do that show now.
All right, so we're gonna get out of here. I want to thank everybody for being here. We had a great discussion. There wasn't much to talk about, but we had 2 hours of stuff to talk about. We talked for 2 hours about what happened this past week, and hopefully we'll have 2 hours or less for you next week.
I'll give you 3 hours.
I'm gonna fucking kill you. So that being said, y'all have a great night, and we will talk to you next week. Don't forget to watch Wrestling Memories, random gaming streams, and I'm pretty sure I actually uploaded Madden to Heather's game, PS4, so we might even have me ranting about fucking Madden 20.
I'm gonna take a knee.
I'm gonna win the Super Bowl, motherfucker, with the Chargers, motherfucker.
I'm gonna fucking kill you. That being said, y'all have a great night, and don't forget to check out everything that's on the channel. It's not just wrestling; we have other things too. So you guys enjoy your night, and we will talk to you next week and throughout the week. Have a good one.
Why does my penis smell?
Oh my god.
You got
I need
MRSA.
help.
You've got
Say
MRSA.
positive.
Oh no.
So fucking gross.